morning. My name is Tracy Trypuc. Welcome to Your Health Matters. Today we will be discussing Housing Our Homeless Heroes Act. Every day, groups across the country are trying to increase awareness of the difficulties faced by both our male and female veterans. We dedicate today's show to our veterans and to those who are helping. Before I introduce my guest, I would like to share some important information about our veterans. Suffolk County is home to the largest veterans population in New York State, including many who are homeless. A 2013 report by the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness showed it is critical to provide short-term assistance and connections to long-term supports, such as healthcare, counseling, education, and job training, and placement for homeless veterans and those at risk of becoming homeless and their families, in order for them to successfully obtain housing and remain in their homes. Legislator Steve Stern, 16th District, who is chairman of the Veterans Committee, is addressing issues of homeless veterans. Steve sponsored the Housing Our Homeless Heroes Act, which includes 4 bills. And now I would like to welcome my guest, Legislator Steve Stern. Steve, welcome.
Tracy, thank you for having me.
Thank you. I applaud your efforts of sponsoring legislation that will protect our veterans. I'm happy to have you here to discuss your efforts here in Suffolk County and your recent legislation to help. Can you tell me, was there a specific incident or moment that made you realize that our veterans needed more protection, and what was that? And also what are the reasons that you're doing this?
Sure. Well, first of all, as you mentioned, it is my great privilege to serve as the chairman of the Veterans and Seniors Committee in the Suffolk County Legislature. So myself and my outstanding staff, we have the opportunity to work with and for so many of our veterans and their families on a daily basis. And so we are reminded every single day of some of the great challenges that too many of our veterans continue to face. And when you know a little bit about our homeless veterans population in Suffolk County, you quickly realize that what you had in your mind about who is a homeless vet doesn't necessarily fit the profile of what you had thought. For example, there was a young woman who had served our great nation overseas. She was a single mother and had come home, and because of various challenges in getting through some of the many agencies that should be available to be of great assistance to our veterans, she found herself homeless, living with her daughter in her car with her dog for way too long. It was those kinds of stories, those kinds of examples that led myself and my staff and my colleagues to say that it was important, I think, for all of us as a community that Suffolk County lead the way and become the very first county in all of New York State to end veterans' homelessness.
Okay. Well, when you hear stories like that, you're just, how did these issues slip through the cracks? So I really do applaud what you and your colleagues have done here. How many homeless veterans are there on Long Island?
There are way too many. And as you point out, there was an official study that was done, approximately 750 on Long Island. But many professionals will believe that the actual number is much, much higher. And it's difficult to track with a degree of certainty, but that's a working number that many of us are starting from. And whether it's 750 or 75, that is way too many here in Suffolk County. And I'm sure you would agree, I'm sure all of your viewers would agree, that anyone who wears the uniform of our great nation and goes off to war to protect the ground that we stand on should never have to come home to sleep on it.
Right, that's exactly true. So your goal is a Housing Homeless Heroes Act. Can you explain what the new laws will do and how they tie in with previous legislation passed here in Suffolk County?
Sure. Well, the Housing Our Homeless Heroes Act is actually 4 separate bills. Some of the legislation goes to ending housing discrimination against veterans and their families. Some of the legislative initiatives go towards creating and utilizing in an innovative way new housing assets within Suffolk County to provide the actual homes for veterans and their families, whether that is a short-term model, a more intermediate, or even permanent housing going forward. It also sets out a framework to provide greater information, raise a lot more awareness in our community, provide the ability for veterans and their advocates to be able to make application to the various governmental agencies in a much more effective, efficient way. And it also restructures government somewhat so that there's better cooperation between the various agencies so that veterans know where to go, they'll know who to work with, and they'll have advocates that are assisting them ongoing to provide not just the housing options, but so many of the other social services that you mentioned earlier, which is so critically important.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're getting close to the end, but I do want to ask just a few more questions. Can you tell our viewers why discrimination against veterans has not been given more attention?
It has been a widespread problem, unfortunately, and there are too many landlords, too many property owners out there that will discriminate against those that utilize public benefits as a way to be able to pay for their rent and their expenses. And unfortunately, veterans fall into that. However, whether it was New York State human rights law or our local Suffolk County law, there was no specific initiative that addressed that problem. This law does that.
Okay. And there is a phone number that veterans can reach out to for help, which is 631-853-VETS, so they can call that. Can you discuss any local efforts that our viewers can participate in that your office is involved in to help our veterans?
We are involved in several, but certainly this time of year, whether it's bringing in food or clothing or other necessities. My office is a drop-off point in Huntington. We're also proud to participate on an ongoing basis in the Cell Phones for Soldiers program. If you have an old cell phone, bring it in, we turn it in, and we're able to raise funds for veterans and their families.
Okay. And this time of year, they can also bring in clothing, coats, and toiletries as well?
That's right. And again, in our office, we are a drop-off point for that.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. I understand that there's a bill signing that's being held on a special day. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we're looking forward to working with the county executive, Steve Stern, and so many of my colleagues in the legislature to sign the Housing Our Homeless Heroes Act and its 4 bills into law. We're very excited about that. We're also very excited about the day, just a couple days before Christmas on December 22nd. We think that's an important day because it will not only show our ongoing commitment to our veterans and their families in Suffolk County, but it's a way to give maybe a little early Christmas present to so many of the important, outstanding members of our community, and it's the right thing to do.
Yes, it is. I am very, very happy that you're doing this. And when we post this up on the websites, I will be sure to give all of the information that we've been provided, the website information and all of that. Again, Legislator Stern, you've been on the forefront of many issues in Suffolk County, and I know I've appreciated it, and there are many residents in the county that appreciate it. And I thank you for being on the forefront again on this important issue that affects so many of our veterans. So I thank you so much for that. That concludes our show for today. Again, I want to thank my guest, Legislator Steve Stern from Suffolk County, 16th District, for visiting with me on the set today and discussing this very important topic about homeless veterans. I applaud the work that you and your colleagues are doing on behalf of our veterans in this important public health issue. Thank you for joining me.
Tracy, thank you. Thank you for having me, and happy holidays to you.
Yes, to you as well. And thank you for joining us today. Please join me next week for another Your Health Matters, when we will discuss another important public health topic, holiday depression and coping skills. Thank you, and I wish you a safe and healthy day.
Yes, perfect.
I had to cut out one question, but you'd like answered it.
Yeah.
So